I think that tallow might not work for everyone, especially if it's a low or poor grade tallow. But when you're getting grass-fed, grass-finished, and cold rendered tallow, you're getting the most nutrient dense. It makes such a difference.
You're listening to the Digest This podcast, and I'm your host, Bethany Cameron. Stop wearing sunscreen and listen to this before you get Botox, because today we're talking about natural alternatives to Botox, natural sunscreen protection that is actually stemmed from what you eat, not what you put on your skin. And we are busting myths about clean skincare and makeup, plus revealing what truly goes on behind the scenes in the skincare and makeup industry. Emilie Toups from Toups Co is back for a second time as we dive into the controversial topics of how coconut oil can actually dry out your skin and why not all beef tallow is created equal and why it may not be working for you if you've tried it. Plus, Emilie shares how to properly clean your makeup brushes and what the missing link behind those nasty breakups could be. Let's go. There's a lot of controversy about electrolytes these days, and many are wondering what's really in them. Brands can sometimes not be transparent and hide ingredients not required to be disclosed to the public. However, I will say that the electrolytes I've been taking for over 3 years are the best I've found. There's no stevia, no monk fruit, no natural flavors, and no maltodextrin. Just 3 simple ingredients: salt, magnesium, and potassium. The brand I've been consuming is Element, specifically their raw, unflavored version. This version only is free from many of the hidden ingredients you will commonly find in electrolyte mixes. And because Element's raw, unflavored packets do not contain natural flavors or sweeteners of any kind, I sometimes like to add a squeeze of lemon or a squeeze of orange into my water, or they're even great blended into my fruit smoothies for a sweet and salty treat. I've tried several brands on the market and wasted a lot of my own money on promising packs, only to get disappointed that either the taste was off or they didn't deliver the hydration I needed. That's why after 3 years, I have always reverted back to Element's raw, unflavored electrolytes. My husband loves their lemonade, citrus salt, and grapefruit salt, and he's recently become a fan of their mango chili flavor. Imagine sprinkling that on top of watermelon, you guys. But you all know me and that I'm a plain Jane kind of gal that prefers no sweeteners, no maltodextrin, no aftertaste, and no flavorings. So whatever your preference, I know Element has got what you're looking for. If you go to drinkelement.com/digest, you will get a free sample pack to try. And if you don't like what you purchase, they will give you your money back with no questions asked. And you can even keep what you bought. Go to drinklmnt.com/digest or click the link in today's show notes. If you care about the food you eat, the water you drink, the air you breathe, and the products you put on your body, then you should also care about the mattress you sleep on. We spend half of our life sleeping on a mattress. And if your mattress isn't non-toxic, then most likely it's full of polyurethane foam, flame retardants, and VOCs. Exposure to some VOCs can cause respiratory irritation, trigger asthma symptoms, and over the long term, increase the risk of cancer. Solvent-based glue often binds to the layers of a mattress, and it too releases VOCs. Most conventional mattresses often release fragrance used to camouflage odors created during production. And we all know fragrance can cause allergic reactions and sometimes even contain hormone-disrupting phthalates. Needless to say, switching to a non-toxic organic mattress with natural materials is something to take seriously. That's why I have been recommending Birch mattress to everyone. Birch sources only the finest quality materials like organic fair trade cotton, organic wool, and natural latex, which is not susceptible to molding. Every Birch mattress is constructed with non-toxic material so you can feel confident spending half of your life laying on their luxurious sleep oasis. I want all my listeners to enjoy a deep, restful night's sleep with a new mattress from Birch. Go to birchliving.com/digest for 20% off site-wide. That's birchliving.com/digest and get 20% off. birchliving.com/digest. All right, Emilie, thanks so much for coming back for round 2 because last time we ran out of time. So we invited you back to talk all things skincare and beyond because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about beef tallow, consuming it and putting it on your face, right?
It's definitely trending right now.
It's trending. So I want to get into that. And you know the drill though. Before I start the podcast, I'm going to give you some rapid fire yes or no questions and you can only answer yes or no.
Okay.
All right. First question. Are there natural alternatives to Botox?
Yes.
Ooh. Does beef tallow on your face clog your pores?
No.
Does makeup cause acne breakouts?
Can.
Can. Okay. Should we be wearing sunscreen?
No.
No. Okay, let's get into that one. Okay,
Yeah.
last question. Does the sun actually age us?
It can. Yes.
It can. Okay. Well, I want to know if we're not supposed to be wearing sunscreen and the sun can age us. I want to know how we can divert from that. But even before we get into that, why don't you introduce my listeners and let them know who you are and what you do?
Thank you so much, Bethany, for having me. I'm Emilie Toups. I'm the founder and CEO at Toups Co Organics, and we are a natural skincare and beauty company, primarily sold online direct to consumer.
Okay. Where else are you sold? If it's just through like little boutique shops?
Yeah, a few, and like on like Meta Shop, Instagram, Facebook.
Okay. Now, give us the Reader's Digest version, because I know you shared a little bit last time, but how did you get into this space? Like, what was your quote aha moment of like, I need to change the way that I am using skincare?
Yeah. If you want to hear the full story, you can listen to our previous podcast. So the consolidated version is we were having health issues, which is the beginning of many similar companies, both in food and in products. I was having hormonal disruptions. My husband was having migraines. My daughter had very severe eczema. And I think we came to this crux where we wanted a change. And so I dove into skincare first because of her eczema and how severe it was. And I discovered beef tallow and the healing properties of beef tallow. And that was the very early beginning of Toups Co. I would make it in my farmhouse kitchen. And, you know, we radically changed our lives for that. And honestly, that is the small, very humble beginnings of where Toups Co. began.
Okay, now I have questions because when you said you changed your lifestyle, did you start like eating healthier first before you did like the skincare and the home cleaning products?
Yeah, we did. We watched a documentary and like had an about face, took a garbage bag and got rid of everything in the house that was not good. And this is like processed grains and food that's shelf stable and had preservatives and other things in it, and went back to just fresh meats, fresh vegetables, and little to no grains, because we started out and did the GAPS diet with her, which I know that you're familiar with. But if you aren't familiar with it, it is, we started with stage 1 and just did like very soft cooked vegetables and meat and lots of broth. And because we started seeing so many health benefits and our lives started to change, we were hooked and never really looked back.
Amazing. And so your whole family was having issues. It wasn't just you or your daughter.
Yeah.
And just by these simple swaps. And then what was that like aha moment where you were like, okay, wait a minute. It's not just our food. It's like everything we put on our skin.
Yeah. I mean, you can get down into the weeds in so many rabbit trails. And I think that the culmination of information is learned over a long time. There's things that I've recommended in the past that I've done, eaten, and then later on changed my mind, realized it didn't work for us. But once we started just to see better health, we realized that this was a lifestyle change for us. And it didn't just come in the form of like changing our diet and our skincare, fragrances in the home, but really an entire body change where we were focusing on our mental health and stress and like all of it together. It truly is a lifestyle change. And that's when we saw our lives, our health get better. And so, yes, we did it for our daughter to start, but we also saw so many health benefits in our own lives as well that, you know, when you know better, you do better. And then once you know better, you just can't go back.
Yeah, well, and you brought up something too about mental clarity and stress. And I think it's a catch-22, at least for me, because I notice if I mean, I don't use like perfume or anything, but if I walk down like the cleaning aisle at the grocery store or something, I will get anxiety. I'll get like more stressed. And so if people are using these things, it could be contributing to your anxiety and you don't know why you're anxious. But then it's like, okay, what came first, the chicken or the egg type of thing?
Yeah. And I think it's just all of things together build true wellness. And so it's not something that you can just change your entire life in a week. It takes time and you just kind of chip away at all the things and make better choices as it's time to make those choices. When it's time to buy this new product, we're going to search for something better. And the way I like to explain it so that it's not stressful, because that is also a huge part of health, is that now that you've made that choice, you know what the better choice is, and then you just buy that. So like you've made that decision for, let's say, laundry detergent, and you just can move on and we're on to the next choice. And whether that's in another week or in a month, we're still on the path towards better choices.
No, I love that. Okay, let's talk about beef tallow on your face.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's many misconceptions that it's pore clogging, and I will admit, here's interesting, and I want to ask you this, because if I put coconut oil on my face, it does clog my pores. Like I break out all the time, but not beef tallow. Why is that?
So coconut oil actually can be drying to the skin by itself. And I think when I first started my health journey, the first switch that we went to was coconut oil, and we were using it for everything, right? That was like in the late 2010s when coconut oil was like all the rage. I had a blog and I was like homestead blogging, and coconut oil was the thing. And while it's better than its counterparts, it doesn't have all the necessary vitamins and fatty acids that animal fats do, right? Because our own skin sebum does have those. And so tallow is more identical to our own skin's oils and nourishment, and that's why it works so much better. The first question you asked was, is beef tallow pore clogging? And that can be a catch-22. So we consider the way we render our tallow a cold render. So it's heated to minimal heat, which is just enough to melt the fat, and then it's triple strained and then flash heated to preserve it. And so that is maintaining the very most amount of essential fatty acids, fat-soluble vitamins. So let's say we're using tallow that's not rendered in that way, high heat extracted and deodorized. It's going to have a different fatty acid profile because of the way that it's heated, the way that is extracted. And so people come to Toups and they say, I've used beef tallow, it doesn't work for me. And I'm like, just try it. Just try, like, if you just try one more. And they'll try Toups and they're like, wow, it's so different. Why is that? And so it could be one of two things, the rendering method. And the second thing is it could not be grass-fed beef. So you know that when you're eating grass-fed beef versus CFAO beef, that the omega-3, 6, 9 ratio is different and the fat itself is different, right? And it's better for us to consume grass-fed beef. The same is true of tallow. We want grass-fed, grass-finished tallow. And we want the fatty acid profile and the nutritional profile of that beef. So The difference between tallow and maybe a plant oil is that plant is they're generally going to be all grown the same if you're buying organic plant oils. But with tallow, the grade and the variation of nutrient density can just really widely vary. And so I think that tallow might not work for everyone, especially if it's a low or poor grade tallow. But when you're getting grass-fed, grass-finished, and cold rendered tallow, you're getting the most nutrient dense. It makes such a difference because I've compared them. I've seen samples of different kinds, and I've explained that to the team. Like, this is what it looks like. This is the consistency of it. This is what it smells like, and we can definitely tell the difference. It's like night and day.
Okay, so people shouldn't go. Okay, don't go to the grocery store and just in the oil section get the beef tallow that they sell. That's different.
It is different. It depends on how it's rendered, and there's a lot of different brands. Some are good, some are not. If you type in on Amazon, beef tallow, I did it the other day just to see. I was just curious, and I was just shocked by the amount of tallow bombs, some of them like origin made in China. Obviously, we're going to be just like anything else that we bring into our house, that we're reading ingredients and being curious about how it was made. Same thing with our food. And so I think the general misconception about tallow could be due to poorly rendered or not well-sourced tallow.
Okay. I think that really concise or sums it up as far as what we should be looking for when looking for beef tallow on our face. Because, one person, especially people that are sensitive with sensitive skin, if they think they're doing the right thing for their body and they're getting the wrong product, and then they could be completely turned off because they just didn't get the right sourced product or rendered product. Okay. What about whipped tallow? Can you explain the difference?
Yeah. So when tallow is rendered and then cooled, it's at a pretty hard state. If you're not using like Trimmins fat and you're using only the suet, which is what we use, the kidney fat, it's the purest, but it's also really hard. And so when it's whipped, it's just made softer. You can add in a very low percentage of a liquid oil. We use organic olive oil, and it just gives the consistency of a face cream. And so that's why we really love it, and we whip our tallows.
Okay, all your tallows are whipped?
Yeah.
Okay, that's why, because I have some of your tallow and I'm like, excuse me, it's so like airy. And like you only need a little bit and it goes so like such a long way.
You only need a little. That is exactly right. And I think when people say it sits on top of my skin, it doesn't absorb, they're just simply using too much. Less is more. And we give a lot of education around a pea size for your whole face. You don't need a lot. Your jar should last you a long time because you don't need a lot. If you're putting on, I think we mentioned this on the last podcast as well, if you're putting on so much that after it should be absorbed, a few minutes, that you're able to still wipe some off, you've used too much.
Yeah, good point. Because some people have complained like, it makes my skin oily or it's shiny, and that's just way too much.
It's too much, yeah.
Okay, pea size. You had mentioned something that you only use the kidney fat.
Yeah.
Why is that?
So 1 is the purest, 2 is the most nutrient dense. So the grade of tallow that comes from the trimmings, which would be coming from like closer to the hide and the more like muscles, it's really oily, and it's a different consistency, and it's just not the highest grade. So we reject, we don't use any trimmings fat in any of our products, only the suet, which is the kidney fat.
Okay, that is interesting. Maybe that's why too your products are just different.
Different, definitely could be.
Can you eat your stuff? I haven't tried it, but I'm assuming.
Can. So like our vanilla almond balm, which is like one of our top selling, it has food grade almond and vanilla extract. And technically, because it's just tallow, olive oil, and then 2 extracts that are also edible, you could eat it. And lots of times I will get customers that's like, my son or my daughter put their hand into the tallow and like put it in their mouth. And I'm like, it's literally totally fine. Won't hurt them in the least.
I love that. And that's how skincare should be. Hi, is that your son?
Yeah. Sorry.
He just jumped into the screen. Hi. I love it. Speaking of kids, now when you say you added some olive oil to it, like the whipped, let's talk straight up olive oil. Is that bad for your skin if I just took some olive oil and like rubbed it on lotion?
Yeah, I mean, you totally can. It's not comedogenic if it's pure olive oil. You can, like, if you go to the grocery store and buy olive oil, it's probably been adulterated with another oil.
And cut.
Yeah, cut with different seed oils. And so, but if you're getting a really high quality olive oil, I say yes, because I've done a lot of research on the Mediterranean area where maybe beef fat was less available. The kind of animal fats they had would have been like sheep or goat, and a lot of olive oil. During the time before the Industrial Revolution, when there weren't seed oils, they were using olive oil as their skincare in their hair, massaging it into their joints. And so that is part of the reason why we chose olive oil as the oil that we add to our tallow, because it was ancestrally used in skincare. The other oil that a lot of people like because it's really stable is jojoba. But because there's not a lot of research around ancestral practices using jojoba, and jojoba is really more like a wax than a true oil. We love good cold processed olive oil that's not been, cut with anything. Because there's so much research and evidence to show this Mediterranean region using it for, hundreds of years as the only oil that they had.
Okay, that's really good to know. And kind of going back to the whole eating the skincare thing, I want to know the benefits of like the healing properties of tallow, because let's just say you got a cut on, or let's just say you had like a pimple and you popped it, right? Could you put that on the exposed skin?
Yeah, so we use our tallow balm for everything. So like the original balm is like our bug bite balm that we put, the baby balm we put on rashes, like anything that comes up, we use it for that. The kids, when we first started Toups Co, we called our tallow balm Crunchy Balm, and my kids still call it that to this day. So they're like, Mom, can you get some Crunchy Balm? I have a scrape or whatever, because the healing properties are very anti-inflammatory, but antimicrobial as well. And so we kind of use it as our fix-all balm, and it's pulling that redness and inflammation out. And depending on what tallow balm you choose, what essential oils are added, they have additional botanical benefits, that lavender and the original balm. That's why we use it for bug bites. It's super great. And the kids will come and they instinctively ask for it because they feel relief. And so I love using children as an example, that they will come and like request a certain balm for something because they like the way it feels and they realize that it makes them feel better.
Well, and if it's safe for children, then it should be safe for everyone. So that makes
And I've got
sense.
lots of photos of like my older kids when they were younger. I was still making tallow like in the house, and they would like put their hands in the mixer because it either smells or looks like whipped cream.
Looks like frosting,
Just
yeah.
having it everywhere, and you never have to worry that it was unsafe.
That's so good. Okay, and then also, speaking of healing, I want to know if you have a canker sore, if you bite your lip or your tongue or something, can you put your beef tallow inside your mouth for healing?
You could, but I can't imagine that it would stay for very long because your saliva would probably wash it away. Probably you would want to put something that maybe has beeswax in it so that it has a little bit more staying power. But the tallow would be pretty much gone as quickly as if you ate something and then it was not
good
there.
to know. Okay, now I had asked you about Botox, and everyone, well, at least in my circle, I'm seeing a lot of people stop Botox because they're seeing the repercussions of it. And I know we talked a little bit about it last time of how toxic it is. It literally is an abbreviation for botulism toxin, Botox. So if someone is wanting to look younger but not wanting to do the needle, what are some alternatives?
So we really like to support the body from the inside out. This means caring for our bodies internally, right? And Botox doesn't address the reason why our skin would be sagging or dull, right? And the reason is usually because we're nutrient deficient. So I think the first thing would be addressing nutritional deficiencies in our diet and making sure that we have proper minerals. And then on the outside, doing non-toxic skincare. I love like facial gua sha, facial massage. Some people really love like taping, especially like at night. I've recently done a lot of research on like the patches that you can like wet and put on your face. And then they actually, when you peel them off, take the top layer like of your skin like off. And so it's disrupting the microbiome of the skin. And so some like alternative to that would be like the silicone patches, because they're not actually like tearing off like the top layer of the skin. I've actually used those, the ones that you wet and apply. And then I was like, oh, I really like them, but I've since switched to the ones that are silicone based, and they just come like right off, and you're not disrupting any of like your skin microbiome by like removing an entire top layer of skin.
I got those, the silicone ones from Amazon, super cheap. And yeah, I haven't used them that much because they're kind of a recent purchase, but I'm curious because I was using the other like one-time use patches. And they seem to work great, but I didn't know about that.
Same way that like Botox does is you're not using that muscle while you sleep. And like, let's say if you're a side sleeper, you're not actually having a crease in the skin. And so love that. But really supporting the tone and your circulation by doing gua sha, dry brushing, using non-toxic skincare so that you're feeding those cells instead of giving them pollutants that they then have to fight off. So your skin cells on your face aren't working as hard with your more toxic skincare and makeup, is just going to contribute to overall beauty. Health comes from the inside out, and we really like to promote that at Toups. And so I've not done Botox ever. I feel like I'm on the back end, about to be 37. So I'm like on the end of my 30s, going into my 40s. And I almost don't know anyone like local to me that hasn't done it. And so myself,
I've never done it. So
right. And so
I'm 35.
So incredibly common. And because it's been so common, I think people think that it's fine because it's common. But a lot of people are coming off of it. I have people ask me like, I want to quit doing Botox. Like, can you help me? What can I do? And I just tell them the same thing, like supporting from the inside out, facial taping, gua sha, facial massage, and then just mineral-rich skincare like Tallow, just to support your skin cells. Definitely help contribute to aging slower and gracefully.
If you get Botox or are thinking about it, please listen to this first. Botox literally is short for botulism toxin. So you are literally injecting a toxin into your face, which is one of the most vulnerable areas of our body and the place most people analyze first. Trust me, I get it. We all want to look younger or at least stop or slow down the aging process. That's why Botox is such a booming industry. But I have heard horror stories about injectables from people online, and that's why I always recommend alternatives such as Timeline's weightless, nourishing formula, specifically their eye cream. Their eye cream in particular is incredibly popular because our eyes start to age earlier than the rest of our face. So if you're looking to boost your skin's appearance without the needle, I recommend trying Timeline's eye cream formula that quickly absorbs into the skin and immediately replenishes the fragile eye area with lasting hydration while strengthening the skin barrier. This cream is the most comprehensive, clinically proven eye cream on the market, addressing all signs of aging in the full eye area: hydration, fine lines and wrinkles, dark circles and puffiness. So if you want younger looking skin without the needle and injecting your face without all of those toxins, try Timeline skincare products. Timeline is offering 10% off your first order of their skincare products. Just go to timeline.com/digest. That's TIMELINE.com/digest. If you're buying quality food and ingredients like grass-fed meat and organic produce, but still cooking with pots and pans containing forever chemicals, then all your efforts to clean eating kind of just went out the window. I personally have been using Our Place non-toxic ceramic cookware and absolutely love it. Not only are they easy to use, easy to clean, but also very lightweight, which was something I hated with my previous non-toxic pots and pans. Our Place offers a variety of toxin-free cookware ranging from slow cookers, blenders, pots, pans, bakeware, and even dinnerware with all a modern, sleek style. Their non-stick cookware is made with ceramic, but most importantly, they're made without PFAS, lead, or cadmium. They're also oven safe for up to 450 degrees for all your favorite stovetop to oven recipes. These are the perfect gifts for your family, friends, and of course, yourself. Stop cooking with toxic cookware and upgrade to Our Place today. Visit FromOurPlace.com/digest and use code DIGEST for 10% off site-wide with a 100-day risk-free trial, free shipping, and free returns. You can experience this game-changing cookware with zero risk. I feel like we should normalize aging too. Like, it's inevitable. We're all going to be aging. And it's just something I think we have to focus on mentally as well, because, I've come to the point, I'm like, okay, Bethany, I'm not going to look 20 in my 60s. Like, just accept it,
And I think it's a beautiful thing. And, the culture is seeing a shift. I really believe that I'm seeing a shift in the culture away from this like perfectly smooth, poreless face to a softer, more natural look. And I'm really happy for that, because it's, the tide is turning towards non-toxic products as people are seeing the effects of years and years of using these toxic products. They are seeing, a lot of health implications, and now they're looking for something else. And we're like, hey, there are so many other things that you can do. It's not Botox or nothing. There's other things that we can do to support our skin. So I kind of want to talk about like nature's retinol, which is bakuchiol, which is a plant-based, people call it nature's retinol, but what it really does is increase cell turnover.
What's it called?
Retinol does. It's called bakuchiol. And
Bakuchiol, okay.
And it's in our reparative serum. And the benefits of that is when you're seeing increased cell turnover in a natural way, you get that like plumpy, glowy look. And I think that's what people are looking at achieving from using retinol and like toxic vitamin A products. And so I love that there's an alternative to that in the natural world. And so love the reparative serum. I think that we see, a lot of products promising a lot of things, and people are like, well, how long does it take to see the, effects of that? They want something immediately in a week or 2 weeks, but long-term use of really clean products that are supporting the skin, you're going to age slower and gracefully and look softer and more natural, which I think is, or should be, everyone's end goal.
Okay, so that's in your reparative serum? That's the only thing that has this.
That's the only product that we have that with that ingredient. Yes.
I can't even pronounce it. Bakuchiol. I don't even know.
We say bakuchiol.
Bakuchiol. Okay. Yes, please correct me. I don't want to sound like a crazy person.
We have a really funny story about that, and just kind of went around our whole team, and like everyone pronounced it the way that they thought it or read it. But I think that we settled on bakuchiol. We looked it up online, and we are pretty confident in our pronunciation.
Bakuchiol. Okay. Everyone say it. Everyone listening, say it out loud.
Say it out loud.
Bakuchiol. Okay. I also want to add that Botox is expensive. So, I know that also natural skincare isn't cheap either, but I think if you're going to be paying money, you might as well be putting it towards your health versus a toxic thing.
We're investing in our health for sure.
For sure. What are your favorite anti-aging foods?
Yeah, so I eat pretty paleo, which I've added in a couple of grains like white rice, but I focus on nutrient density over like superfoods. So people like to say, blueberries or kale, like these superfoods. But I really think that I have animal protein every day, and focusing on good quality animal protein is going to feed my body in the way that I feel best, support my vitamin and nutrient density in my cells. I focus on like minerals and make sure that I'm getting sun at the appropriate times. I know we're going to move into talking about the sun, but SPF or sun and SPF, but all of that combined, I feel like that's my idea of superfoods, is a well-balanced diet full of nutrient-dense foods.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the sun, I remember your story that you shared last time about your little experiment with your kids and feeding them and then like seeing if they got sunburn the next summer. Is that correct? Is that like safe to say?
We do cod liver oil, and which is really high in vitamin A, right? And so we would burn, some of my kids are fair. I have like 2 fair, and then the other ones are kind of olive. But we would always get like a little bit of a burn in the beginning of the summer. We live on the Gulf Coast, so we're at the beach often. And when we started prioritizing regenerative animal proteins and cod liver oil, we were just shocked the next summer at like no one burning. And we practice safe sun exposure. So, after a certain amount of time, we either put on a hat or a long sleeve shirt or get in some shade. But we weren't experiencing those like nose and like top of shoulder burns by being at the beach all day, and totally attribute that to high consumption of vitamin A in our diet.
Okay. So the sunburn and like sunscreen myth, I want to talk about why we shouldn't be wearing sunscreen.
So chemical sunscreens are poison to our bodies. And the FDA recently came out with a new study that doesn't actually recommend any of the chemical sunscreens as safe. And so when you practice safe sun exposure, which is limiting the amount of sun exposure you get because you want good sun exposure, I think that our body, our skin cells, our mind, and our whole body health really depends on proper sun exposure, which is in the morning, we're resetting our circadian rhythm. In the evening, getting that red light from the setting sun, which is like free red light therapy, right? So when I have the D-Minder app on my phone, and like when we're getting close to sunset, I have it go off. I'm like, okay, kids, everybody outside, we need to get our red light for the night before we go to bed, because they sleep better, they wake up better. But in regards to sun exposure, chemical sunscreens are like non-negotiable for me, never. And it doesn't matter if we're going on a beach trip and we're going to be at the beach for a week and we'll be out. We have hats and long sleeves for those times because chemical sunscreens are just an absolute no. For the times that we'll be in the sun and I think we need some SPF on our face or on our nose, we use mineral-based sunscreen. And so we use non-nano zinc oxide, which acts like a physical barrier, basically like a layer over your skin, like if you would have clothing. And it does wipe off. So like if you're towel drying or you've been in the water, a long time, then you definitely have to reply. It's an actual physical barrier. But it works in the times that we can't avoid too much sun exposure. So I think it's really great for, tops of the ears, nose, face, if you have like long time sun exposure. But I really want to say like our stance on SPF is that it's there when you need it, but we don't want to avoid the sun completely. The sun, like you asked earlier, can cause skin damage when you've been exposed too long, or like you're getting slight sunburns on your face. It can cause those skin cells to be damaged. So we don't want to cause damage to our skin by overexposure in the sun, but we're not hiding from the sun. We're not wearing SPF every day. We want our skin to receive all of the, benefits from the sun, which our skin cells take in, our eyes take in. So we want to make sure that we're getting sun exposure without glasses and contacts. And so when I started prioritizing those practices in my own life, I definitely saw increased health. I was outside more. I was prioritizing morning light without glasses. Same thing in the evening, but we're talking safe sun exposure. We're not going to the beach with nothing and saying SPF is bad and we're burning. We're like, it's fine. There's, a lot of people that are coming out so hard against the no sunscreen camp. And we're not saying never use sun protection. We're saying do it safely.
No, I completely agree. I think every time I share on my Instagram and that I'm like, people ask, well, what sunscreen do you use? I'm like, I don't wear sunscreen. Like every day, how a lot of people put sunscreen on every day. My mom is one of them. And I'm like, that's not part of my regimen to just put it on every day. Like you said, if I'm going to the beach all day or something, I'm going to have to try your zinc oxide sunscreen because I'm curious. But there's like exceptions, right? But other than that, I don't put it on, or I don't wear sunglasses either. On a very rare occasion, like if I'm driving and I can't see, I'll put sunglasses on because it's a hazard. But your eyes need that sun and the vitamin D.
Exactly. And there are studies that show that if you're wearing sunglasses the entire time that you're having heavy sun exposure, that you can actually burn more quickly than if you didn't wear sunglasses because your body's recognizing that you're having high UV exposure because you're taking in that UV through your eyes, which, we know the body is so incredibly complex. And so that makes so much sense. And I've been more cognizant of if I'm having a lot of sun exposure at a pool or at the beach when you would typically wear sunglasses to just not wear them unless I absolutely need them to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My husband goes fishing and he's like on a boat for like 2 days and he never puts sunscreen on, but he wears long sleeve shirts, even though it's like 100 degrees out. He wears the long sleeves and he does fine. So what about the wrinkles? And the sun, because a lot of people are like, oh, the sun makes you wrinkly. And I do think that's true. But I think to your point, you had mentioned sun damage.
Right. Well, I'm not allowing my skin to burn, very cognizant of not allowing myself to have too much sun exposure. And so I think that there was this era of people who were the sun worshipers. My mother-in-law was one of them where she was like laying out every single day. And now in her late 60s, she does have wrinkles and you can see the sun damage. And so what we're avoiding here is damage by not having overexposure. So that's where I think that the physical barrier mineral sunscreens come into play, is that when you know that you're going to get a lot of high UV exposure, that is when it's appropriate to use a safe mineral-based sunscreen.
Okay. All right, let's talk about greenwashing. Because it's happening. It's happening everywhere. And what should we know about greenwashing when it comes to skincare and makeup?
Yeah, it's so frustrating. And I am constantly frustrated, right? Because I see ads and things that pop up on my phone for products. And so my first instinct is to go directly to the ingredient list and see what is in this. So when people say it's all natural or this is plant-based or something like that.
It's vegan.
Right. And vegan is actually a huge buzzword in makeup. And so we're seeing lots of influencers and people when they will promote a makeup product, like as their marketing term, they're like, it's vegan. That literally means nothing. It just means there's no animal products in it, but it's still full of toxic formulations and products like that. And so people will say natural may contain like organic ingredients or contain some organic ingredients, which is great, right? It's a better step in the right direction. But that doesn't mean that there's not toxic preservatives there or fragrance that could have, a host of ingredients behind that word. And so it's up to us to turn around and look at the back and read the ingredient list. So we're really big on education at Toups, and not only educating consumers on what to look for when they're buying skincare and makeup, but also just like other things in their life. Everything needs to have a check on the ingredient list. There's a lot of apps that could help you do that, but there's nothing better than just actually reading them yourself, seeing something that you don't know what it is, and just a quick Google search or looking it up on that ingredient on the EWG will help you understand what the ingredient is for, what it does in the formulation, and if it's toxic or not. And so at Toups, like, transparency is like at the top of our ethos, right? We list every single ingredient on the website. We source all of our ingredients very intentionally, very thoughtfully, so that the end product and the end formulation is as healthy as possible. Everyone is looking for like better for you ingredients. Like, it's totally trending, and there's so many companies that are trying to like jump on that bandwagon of like getting these people who are looking for better options. And so they're putting things on the front, maybe a green leaf or something, and it truly does look better. And then you turn it around and it's the same thing or worse in some instances, the ingredients on the back.
Yeah, and I was actually looking at some of your products, and you have some of them have like 3 ingredients, and I love that. Like, less is more.
We only want to put the amount of ingredients that you actually need for it to be effective. 1. 2, we don't really need long shelf life preservatives because we're making our products in-house, and they could be in a package shipped to someone within a week. And so because they're so fresh, their expiration dates can be their expiration dates can be longer because they are coming straight from us to you. And
right, they're not sitting on a shelf.
Right. They're not sitting on a shelf. They're not sitting in a warehouse somewhere for months on end waiting to get to the next phase of, how they palletize them and store them. And then finally you're getting this end product that was maybe made a year ago.
Yeah. Well, and I love what you were saying about organic ingredients, because I'm always sharing this with my followers regarding food. And like you said, organic, that's amazing, but organic does not automatically mean clean or healthy. There's so many crappy organic food bars and organic stuff on the shelves that I'm like, wait a minute.
Even I, like, with as much experience as I've had in reading labels, like a new protein bar will come out and I'm like, oh, this would be great to put in my bag when we're, going to events with the kids. And then really looking at it and I'm like, I can't give them this. It's not really what it's cut out to be. But the label looks so great on the front that it's so easy to think that it would be a good choice. And so I have to remind myself to make sure that I'm always reading ingredient labels, because you need to know what you're consuming, what you're putting on your face. At Toups, we use very simple ancestral formulations, and that's all that's needed for efficacy. I think we've been sold a lie that we need all of these like powerhouse ingredients to see results. And really, with very nutrient dense, very simple ingredients, we're seeing even better results than these lab created chemicals that people are putting into products that cause hormone disruption and other issues that are just toxic for the body.
Yeah. Well, and again, with the whole greenwashing, I've seen things that are saying not tested on animals. Okay, that's great, but it doesn't mean anything. Or like gluten-free, because I think people that have a gluten, they don't want gluten in their skincare, which is fine. That's great. But all of these things, again, are going back to like greenwashing. And then when we're talking about organic, are there organic fragrances?
So what we use at Toups are organic essential oils. We're not using a part of the essential oil, which some people will take out just certain like constituents out of an entire essential oil and just use that. But they've been processed down further than just like a oil distillation. And so we use whole plant essential oils, organic, as our fragrances, because they don't just provide a smell or a fragrance, they provide other botanical benefits as well. And so the essential oils in our formulations are all at 1% or less and are all formulated by the Tisserand Institute's standards for dilution rates for essential oils. So we're making sure not only are you getting the best, you're also getting it in a proper dilution, because not every, things, you can have too much of a good thing and it be a bad thing. And so we don't want too much of an essential oil in a product and then it actually be a bad thing. And so not only are we formulating with good essential oils in mind, but dilution rates matter as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good to know. I always think of fragrance as the equivalent to natural flavors when it comes to food.
Exactly.
And like fragrance is the natural flavor of the skincare world.
It is. And there's up to, I think, like over 2,000 chemicals that can be like hidden behind that word fragrance. And there was a law that says that fragrances are proprietary so that people cannot take them. And so that you can just put the word fragrance on the label so that you can hide your proprietary formula. And back way a long time ago when that was first enacted, that was to protect perfume companies from other perfume companies stealing their formulation, right? It made sense then because there weren't all of these chemicals to hide behind fragrance. They were actually making them with plant botanicals. Fast forward 100 years now, and companies have used that as a loophole to put whatever they want under the word fragrance. And so when you see that in skincare and in makeup and beauty products, run.
Yeah. And I even heard that when you see something that says, quote, fragrance free, that doesn't mean there's no chemicals because sometimes they actually put chemicals to mask the smell. Is that right?
True. That is true. And we see that mostly like in laundry detergents. You'll see free and clear laundry detergents, and they're actually just additional chemicals to mask what the smell would have been from the chemicals that they put in there. And the byproducts of that are like 1,4-dioxane that we definitely want to avoid. And so the next step in like for laundry detergent, for example, is going fragrance free, but we don't want to do it with a formulation that's masking that. We want cleaner formulations for everything we do, which requires the hard work on our end, which is doing the research and understanding why we want to avoid those ingredients. And so I don't think that it's enough to just listen to what is buzzing, what is being marketed and say, this is a safe choice for our family. Really, the responsibility lies on us to educate ourselves enough to make those better choices.
Yeah. And what about those that are wanting some makeup, right? I know skincare is a huge thing, but then makeup, a lot of people maybe want to cover up some blemishes or this and that. What are some options for people with sensitive skin?
Yeah, so I absolutely love our makeup line. I feel like we're pioneers in the non-toxic makeup space because when you look at the other companies that are, quote, non-toxic cleaner makeup, there's still tons of ingredients that are on the no list for Toups. Our makeup line uses only mineral-based pigments and no lab-created lake dyes or anything like that. The oils and nutrients add back to the skin, so we kind of call it makeup that acts as skincare. And so, everyone loves a good, effective, quality makeup, but we want that non-toxic. And that's where Toups comes in. And we really have some killer formulations. If you want to use mascara and eyeliner, if you want an amazing foundation that works well, has high performance, but is still feeding our skin with, really nutrient-dense plant oils, Toups is where it's at.
Can you put your makeup on as a skincare, like without the base? Let's just say I didn't want to put on like the beef towel or a moisturizer or whatever. Can you just do the makeup?
Absolutely. I do it all the time. So I'm a mom of 5, very busy, and often I'm running out to our headquarters or somewhere and need like a 5-minute makeup hack. I will throw on some primer and foundation, a little bit of tinted lip balm and some mascara and run out the door. Super quick, 5 minutes, and I feel like my skin is being taken care of. It doesn't bother me, and I do have very sensitive skin. Come home and I hate to even admit this on a podcast, but several times I've gone to bed, slept in my makeup, and woke up the next day and then did my skincare. And, you don't have that. I'm not saying that I advocate for or recommend that, but you don't have the toxic buildup in your pores and in your skin cells that you would have if you were using conventional makeup. And so I think it's such a wonderful switch. It's easier for consumers to start with makeup kind of as their entry point to non-toxic because it's the same as what they're using. It's just as effective. The formulations are just as great. and they're switching to non-toxic and they're like, wow, this works so great. Like I could do this non-toxic thing. And so we say people come in for the makeup and they stay for the tallow because they love the makeup so much that then they're like open to trying other things.
That makes sense because makeup is something that you can physically see versus skincare. You don't see it, maybe you feel it, but the makeup is like you want to see an instant transformation.
Right, a little glow up in the morning, and you can get that with Toups products and feel, good about what you're putting on your skin.
Yeah, I have. I'm basically out, but I had your blush. And I think you sent it to me last time, and I'm like down and I'm like scooping it out with like my finger, you know what I mean? Because there's some good stuff in there, but I don't let anything go to waste. Even though it's like, I guess, marketed as a blush, I was putting it in other areas, like on top of my eyes for like a little color, like as an eyeshadow or the lips.
The cream blush, yeah. Mm-hmm. The cream blush is like a multi-stick. It can do lots of things.
Yeah, that one's a really good one. Now, regarding like face masks, what do they do? And do they really help? Because I'm like, sometimes I feel like they're just a scam.
Yeah.
And I'm like, did it do anything?
Yeah, so we have 2 face masks at Toups, and I use them for different things at different times. One is a clay-based mask, and so when I'm feeling like I've got some congestion going on in my skin, and I usually use it like in the summertime, I will do the clay-based mask. I'll either mix it with water or with honey. If I'm feeling really dry, I'll mix it with honey. But if I'm feeling kind of congested, like in the T-zone, I'll mix it with water and let that set, and that clay is just like pulling out, anything that's built up in the skin, and it then primes your skin, right? Because all the dead cells are removed. We're like drawing out of our pores, and then our skin is so ready and receptive to like accept the tallow and the nutrients that are in the tallow. Because if you've got this layer of dead skin on your face, and then you're putting the beef tallow on top of that, it's going to have a hard time getting through that layer of dead skin. So we are wanting to remove that periodically, whether you do that once a week, or it depends on like how often you're wearing makeup or what your lifestyle looks like. If you're working out a lot or you're getting some buildup, the clay mask has vitamin C and hyaluronic acid in it as well. So you're like feeding the skin while pulling this out of your pores. I love it. I think it does plenty for my skin when I need like just a good, if I'm having a podcast the next day and I need, a little bit of glowy skin, I'll do that the day before and then apply the tallow. And I wake up and I feel like my face is like refreshed. The second mask is our resurfacing mask, and it has some organic AHA fruit acids in it. So it's going to have glycolic acid, a little lactic acid in it. And that one, instead of a physical exfoliant, it's actually like a chemical exfoliant. And so when you put that on, you're also removing all of the dead skin cells and starting over fresh. So I like to think of the masks as like, I use them when my face needs a reset, when we need to get rid of the dead skin cells and start over fresh. And so they both do different things, but that's what a mask is for. Now, that's not the same as like these sheet paper mask things that you pull out of like, aluminum and then put them on your face. I think that's a totally different thing than like an actual face mask that's in a jar. Our resurfacing mask is honey-based. So you've got those AHA fruit acids in there, but it's got raw honey, which is so excellent for the skin. And so we're applying that honey on because it's protecting our skin microbiome while we're using those fruit acids to kind of like gently chemically exfoliate the skin.
Is this the mask with the radish root in it?
It is.
Okay, what's the deal with the radish root? What is that?
The radish root is just acting like as a preservative to keep the formulation stable because we don't use any kind of chemical preservatives because there's aloe vera in that formulation. So it has radish root in it.
Okay, I was curious.
It has liquid, yeah.
I was like, so don't be putting radishes on your skin, you guys. It's just like...
And it's in a super low concentration, so yeah.
Okay, and then I want to ask you about makeup brushes. How often should we be cleaning them and how should we be cleaning them?
So I clean my makeup brushes once a week. It makes a huge difference. I have a younger sister. She's 18. She's like, I use your skincare. I use your makeup, and like, I'm struggling with breakouts. And I'm like, I'm trying to like think in my mind, what is it? And so then I was asking her, I was like, can I see your makeup brushes? When's the last time you've washed them? And she was like, oh, never. And I was like, that right there, that is the problem. So I like to wash them with the charcoal soap. I put them in a little bowl and like rub them on the soap and then continue to wash them until the water is completely clear in the bowl. Not to where you're running water on the brush itself, but when you're submerging the brush in a bowl of water and you're rubbing it around, that it comes completely clear. That's when it's done. And then I put them in a cup to dry and just like fluff them after. And that's for our brushes. Super easy. You can use really any of our soaps. I love the charcoal because it has charcoal in it, and it works as a binder. So it's kind of attaching itself to the oils that might be on your brushes. I clean my brushes once a week. And so I think that keeps any kind of bacteria or anything from growing on them, because you know how quickly, if there's any oil or moisture on the brushes at all, that bacteria can quickly grow on them. So that is I'm so glad that you brought that up, because it can be a huge contributor to blemishes and acne on the skin. When you're doing all the right things, you're eating well, you're using skincare and makeup that's like the right ones, and you're like, I'm still struggling, I don't know why, it could definitely be coming from your brushes and or your sponge.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget that. And then they're like, what's the missing link here? I need to figure it out. And maybe that's it. So everyone listening, go clean your brushes and think about when the last time you did it. Does the type of brush or bristles matter?
So a lot of people reach out and they want like natural boar bristles, right? Because they're natural. Well, the brushes on makeup brushes that are made from like natural hair sources like that have to be chemically cleaned and deodorized for use. And so we actually use synthetic bristles on our brushes because they don't have like chemical residue left on them. And I think that's kind of confusing to a lot of our customers at first. They're like, why aren't your brushes made from like natural hair? And so we just kind of go into the education of like what happens to that natural hair when they have to clean it and deodorize it to put it into a brush form. Has so much chemical residue on it that we've decided that those aren't a good fit.
No, that actually makes so much sense. And I've experienced where I'm using synthetic versus a natural brush. The natural ones are a lot more coarse.
They are coarse, yeah.
And it just doesn't have that kind of a finish that I'm looking for. So, Emilie,
not only are they more coarse, but the chemicals that they're putting on them to deodorize them, they're also putting chemicals on them to like relax the hair, like you would on like if you had coarse hair and you were like trying to do a chemical relaxant. So there's just like a buildup of chemicals, and that's the reason why we avoid them.
I'm so glad you did your research on this so that we don't have to. You're on top of it, girl.
No problem.
Okay, so if anyone is interested to learning more about Toups Co, where can people find you and what's your social media? Give us the goods.
Yeah, so you can find us at toupsandco.com and all of our social media at Toups Co Organics on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the good places, Pinterest.
Okay, and one last thing, what would be the last takeaway that you could tell my listeners?
Yeah, so my favorite like piece of advice, if you're just getting started and you want to pick one thing, I always go for deodorant, right? Because deodorant is something that people don't skip. If you're going to do one thing in the morning, you're running out the door, you might skip your skincare, you might skip your makeup, but you probably won't skip your deodorant. So not only that, but we're applying it to very sensitive areas under our arms, close to our lymph nodes, and close for women, close to our breasts. And we don't want to be using aluminum and fragrance-filled deodorants that we might apply once, sometimes twice a day. And switching to a natural deodorant is like the best first step into breaking into the non-toxic world.
You know what? We didn't even talk about your deodorant, but I think that's something that a lot of people overlook. And I personally don't wear deodorant. I just opt for not wearing it. And now I'm like, I feel like I don't have BO once you like cleanse. But I know a lot of people may not want that. And so your deodorant, is it scented or non-scented?
You can get it both completely unscented and some of them with essential oils.
Okay. Toups Co. You guys check it out. Thank you, Emilie, so much for coming on.
Thank you, Bethany.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Digest This. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review in your podcast app to let us know. If you're ever wondering how you can support me and this podcast, sharing it with your friends and family is the best way. This is a Wellness Loud production produced by Drake Peterson and edited by Mike Fry. To check out more shows by my team, go to wellnessloud.com, and to email the show, message us at digestthispod@gmail.com. See you next time. The content of this show is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for individual medical and mental health advice and does not constitute a provider-patient relationship. As always, talk to your doctor or health team first.
Are you looking to reclaim your health? Tune into the Real Foodology podcast, hosted by me, Courtney Swan, integrative nutritionist and real food activist. I am on a mission to transform our food system by challenging the corrupt practices that undermine our health and replace them with choices that genuinely support our well-being. Listen to Real Foodology podcast on your favorite podcast app. New episodes every Tuesday.